What's going on, guys? Niko here, and in this video I'm going to be showing you the one tool that I use to write beautiful chord progressions the fastest and easiest way possible. Chord progressions that sound like this. So by the end of this video, you'll be able to create that chord progression as well as many other chord progressions. So make sure you stay all the way until the very end so you don't miss out on anything. And with that being said, let's get started. I wanted to quickly announce that I'm giving away a free piano lesson. So if you're interested in working with me one-on-one for absolutely free, comment down below piano mastery. Additionally, if you're a music producer, check out the free MIDI packs in the description down below. I've taken chord progressions from some of the most popular songs, broken them down, and I'm giving them to you in MIDI for absolutely free. With that being said, let's jump on the piano and get into these beautiful chord progressions. So the fastest way for us to create beautiful chord progressions is to quickly go over the chord lineup, and then I'm going to show you the exact tactics I use to make the chord progression. So the chord lineup, all it is that we know we have 7 notes and we're going to be playing in the key of C. And each one of these notes is a root to a chord. And there are other videos covering the chord lineup and why it is the way it is. But for the C major chord, our one chord is a major C. D minor is our second chord. E minor, F, G, A minor, B diminished. And every single chord is like the one chord in the key of C is going to be this C major chord. And I have in the cheat codes the strategies to make major and minor chords and other videos as well. But we're focused on beautiful chords here. So what we do is we take these basic rudimentary triads or the block chords like this, and we beautify them. So how do we do that? Now there are 2 different types of beautiful chords that I go by. I go by sus chords, and there we have sus2, sus4, and there's many other variations thereon. And then we have the cluster chords, which I didn't invent, but I named it because when I was singing in choir, there were certain pieces that would have 4 notes clustered together. Now, you can get away with clustering notes on the higher end of your piano, but on the lower end of your piano, it doesn't sound very good because the notes are hitting together. As you know, if you think about the frequency spectrum of your music producer, you can get away with a lot of things clashing on the higher frequency end, but you want your bass to be really clean. That's why I suggest if you're playing notes on the lower end of the piano, they be power chords, power octave chords, or octaves. And if you go down further, you only want to be using octaves because when you cluster the notes, it just doesn't sound good. But for beautiful chords, we're going to go over cluster chords in this one. Now, let's take this chord for example. We're going to take an A minor chord. Now, in order to make a cluster chord, we follow the 1-0-3 strategy, a minor cluster. So we take the A, we count 1 semitone, 1 note, 1 half step, then 0, so it's the next note, and then we count 1, 2, 3. And the strategy to make these chords more beautiful is to spread them out across the piano. Now, if we're going to be playing power chords, we can keep those down further, power octaves. But when we cluster the notes together, we want to bring them up. So what we can do here to create a beautiful chord progression is use both of our hands, and we can play this. We could jump up the B and the C and play that. Now, the next step in this is we can start adding more notes. So I have 4 notes that I can work with, A, B, C, and E. So I have an E here, I have an A, and I'm adding notes together. And notice I have a lot of notes going on up here, but down in my left hand, I'm only having, the 2 notes. Now, if I want to go a step further, I can bring my hand down and I can play out an A, E, and C. Now, this reach is really hard for me. Normally I'll play the power octave, and most of you guys will be able to do that, but I want to stretch it out. Notice I'm playing a lot of notes at one time, but this is how you truly get beautiful chords. Now, if you're a music producer, you can just draw these in, right? But understanding the concept on the piano makes it so much easier. So what we do is we take our A minor chord, and then we have now taken this basic chord right here. We clusterized it. I don't know if that's a word. We spread a couple of the notes out, and we experimented what sounded good. And then down here, I actually took an A minor chord and jumped the C up an octave. Right, so that's really, I wouldn't say it's beautiful, but it creates a lot of tension going into the next chord. So I'm going to play an A minor, F, C, and G. So that was the first way I showed you guys how I did it. And it wasn't really a precise strategy, but I gave you a couple of clues on what to do. You take a minor chord like this and you add that cluster to it. Then you jump and bounce notes around and get creative with this, guys. You have 4 notes to work with. Use the entire piano, cluster more notes on the high end, and on the low end, you want to keep your notes either power octave chords, spread out, and more open. Up here, they can be more closed. Down here, they can be more open. Now, with that being said, let's keep on going. I want to play an A minor, F, C, and G. So I'm going to have this beautiful chord here. And now we have an F chord. So what I'm going to do with the F chord is I'm just going to play a sus2. So in order to play a sus2, you go here, you count 1 note, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and the next note. So the 1-4 strategy. And if I want to make it a cluster, I can. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread this out in my left hand. So I'm going to jump this G up an octave, and this sounds great. And if you notice, it's really 2 perfect fifths. Now, I want to actually use the A, so I'm going to use this cluster chord, and I'm going to take the A, I'm going to actually jump everything up. Right, so what's going on here? So in the left hand, I'm taking the F, C, and the A. So I'm spreading out just a basic F major chord, and then up here, I took my cluster chord, I jumped the F up an octave, I took the G and jumped that up an octave. And really what we're doing is we're creating inversions here. We're using the power of inversion. So this is, again, a beautiful chord. And all it took was taking the regular major chord and adding the sus components or the cluster components to it. So now we have a C chord. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play a C sus4. And I'm going to take my F and jump it up an octave. And then I'm going to play the C and the F. So what's going on here? We took a C sus4, which I used the 4-1 strategy to create. And then I basically took it up here. And what's going on up here is I'm actually playing an F, C, and G. So this is, if you think about it for a second, we're using the same notes we would use in an F sus2. And I may be going fast, guys, but I want to get through this material, and you can study these the construction of the chords in a lot of the other videos, as well as the free download and piano cheat codes in the description, so check that out. And the last chord, I think I did a C, yeah, C4, so now we're going to play the G chord. And for this G chord, I'm going to do a G cluster chord. So here we go. And I'll take my A and B and jump those up an octave. And then I'm playing the G on top because I want to throw it in there. And that creates a beautiful sound. Notice open down the lower end of the piano, and then up here, we're stretching it out. And maybe I do this. And there's a lot of suspensions going on in each one of these, and I'll have a separate video on that as well on my channel. So that's a lot of stuff you can do. Now I'm going to give you one prescription, one size fits all shoe you can wear here. We're going to use cluster chords on all the 4 chords I showed you and jump the middle 2 up an octave. Let me show you what I mean by that. So we're going to play A, F, C, and G. So I'm going to take this and make it a cluster chord, jump the B and C up an octave. And then we're going to take the F chord here, take the G and the A and jump that up an octave. Then we're going to take a C cluster chord right here, C, D, E, D, like that. Take the D and E and jump it up an octave. And then we're going to take the G, A, B, D and jump the A and B up an octave. So here's your chord progression. This is a beautiful chord progression. And if you want to add more notes to this in your own time, feel free to. But this is one that I would highly suggest you practice and use in your music, right? Because it really is beautiful. So let me just play through it one more time. right, so you can see where I was going with that, and I kind of got into it and was gonna play through it once, but I started getting new ideas that were going through my mind. But anyway, guys, you know the chord lineup. You now know how to use cluster chords and sus chords, spread them across the piano to make these beautiful chord progressions. And if you're drawing in MIDI, you now have different strategies and ideas that you can use to make these beautiful chords. And again, if you're struggling creating the chords, follow my guide. It's called Piano Cheat Codes in the description. Every time you're creating a chord, just follow one of the strategies and it will work every time. There may be a couple of exceptions, and if there are, just reach out to me, comment in one of the videos, and I'll be glad to help you. So I hope this video gave you some value, gave you some new ideas as a songwriter and a producer. And if you're just looking to play piano, I hope you enjoyed it. So if you did, like, comment, subscribe down below. Let me know what you guys thought. Let me know what else you'd like to learn in the future. And just guys, if you do want to have a chance to work with me one-on-one, comment down below Piano Mastery. Again, I choose one winner every Friday from the comment section. With that being said, that concludes this video. I look forward to your piano success, and I will see you in the next video.